Well, the Pirates win today 5-4. They take 2 from one of the worst teams in the major leagues, and they finish.
Pirates fever, Bucko fever.
Bucko
Richie's
fever.
Back.
I don't have it anymore. They finished his road trip 2-8, and I think they're pretty much out of contention. I think a lot of people think that right now. And one thing I want to talk about before we get into maybe who they should deal and what they should do here in the next month is Chris Archer has been an absolute disaster. He's given up another home run today. That's 9 straight starts with home runs, and 17 home runs right now, Pony. I mean, what do you do with this guy? He threw 40-some pitches in the 4th inning.
Move him if you can, flip him.
I don't think you can move him.
I think there's always demand for a starting pitcher. Look, to me, this is an indictment on the organization. I mean, the Mendoza line is what? When a guy's hitting below 200? The Archer is 5 innings, 4 runs. It seems like every start with this guy is fewer than 6 innings and at least 4 runs allowed. My big concern with him is when you see that the velocity is still there and you still see sharp break on his second pitch, that something just isn't clicking between him and the Pirates' pitching philosophy. And I'm just concerned that, you know, it's not going to work out here and he's going to get another chapter with a different team and we might have a Charlie Morton, Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow situation on our hands, but I'm convinced it's not going to work with the Pirates.
One thing about him that seems really strange, and I don't understand why he's at this point, because his fastball is still what it used to be or whatever. I mean, it seems like afraid to throw any other pitch except for his slider for strikes. If you can't command your fastball, you might as well, give it up. And
he doesn't throw inside,
That's
Paul.
what I mean. But he's afraid to throw pitches,
right.
It seems like. He's afraid to throw anything with any kind of confidence at all. And then when he does,
it's right down the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It's right down the middle of the plate, and he gets hit. I think the biggest thing with him is you've got, what, $9 or $10 million option next year or something like that? There's no way they can pick that up. And if you're not going to pick that up, and I know there's flights of fantasy over there that they might still be able to be a wild card team this year. To me, if you're not going to pick it up next year, same thing with Starling Marte. You trade him at the deadline and see what you can get for him.
We have sometimes given Ray Searage a pass on pitchers that didn't develop under him and then have gone elsewhere and developed, like Tyler Glasnow, or guys that he fixed and then couldn't fix again, like Charlie Morton. Because he has fixed others. Well, he has not gotten Chris Archer to where they thought Chris Archer was going to be when he was acquired for Meadows and Glasnow. And by the way, one of their first-round draft choice in Shane Baz. So, I mean, this could go down as one of the worst Pirate trades, if not the worst, in the Huntington era.
So is there blood on anybody's hands? It doesn't feel
yeah,
like
I think. Well, I mean, I thought
there should be, but where's the accountability in the organization?
Oh, there is. There's none of that.
Huntington's under contract through 2021. Hurdle's under contract through 2021. I don't know.
And they all do a very good job of taking the bullets for the owner. And as long as they do that, they're not going. It doesn't matter what happens on the field.
But Paul, this is a situation where the owner actually gave them the license to do something totally out of the Pirates' comfort zone.
I understand that. But my point is, all of them are really good company men. And as a result, I think that's what the owner wants. No waves. And, guys that toe the company line and say what he wants them to say. So I don't think there's any chance that any of them are in trouble.
And Andrew, what you just said right there, it might be the most damning thing that comes of the Chris Archer trade, insofar as the next time they're in a position to do something like this, you think they're going to do it after what just happened with Archer?
But Pony, they didn't gain any money. It was a trade where Chris Archer was relatively cheap for what he was supposed to be.
But they still took on salary, which is atypical.
But not much.
Well, it's
more importantly, they gave up, quote unquote prospect capital, which is what they don't ever want to give up.
I don't think Glasnow would have ever done anything, and I want to go back to you, Paul.
But again, that's on them. That's on them,
You might
Richie.
be right on that, but I want to go back to Paul and the $9 million option for Archer. Perception would be horrible if they don't pick that up.
I don't agree with that.
I think people are soured on him enough.
Yeah, not if he continues to pitch like this. I mean, people want him out of town now. So I don't think that would be, I think most people would say spend the $9 million on somebody else.
Yeah, he's become Derek Brassard in cleats, Richie. I don't think
fans will think that the Pirates will go spend $9 million on someone else.
I think, if you're talking perceptually, where I think they would have a bigger problem, whether it makes sense or not in terms of the return, is trading Vasquez or trading Marte.
That's the problem that the Pirates have put themselves in this corner, where pragmatically and practically, I believe it makes the most sense for the organization to strip it down. But I don't think the fans have the confidence, nor should they, in the belief that if they blow it up, they'll build it back up. And that's a twofold point. Number one, they don't trust the management to get the right players back in deals, and then they don't trust the people above management to spend the extra money if they get close again. I think Neil Huntington, to me, it was easy for him in 08, 09, and 2010 to send somebody else's guys packing, to send Dave Littlefield's veterans packing. I have not heard Neil Huntington use the word rebuilding since 2010, and I think it's time that word goes back into his vocabulary.
Well, he uses the word retooling. Which I want him to use rebuilding.
Bridge year.
The bridge to nowhere.
That went over well. Bridge year went over really well. Fans love that.
If they do one thing well, Richie, if they have a track record of doing one thing well, maybe it's not quite, like Kevin Colbert identifying 6th-round draft choice wide receivers, but they have a pretty good track record of finding and developing closers, even on teams where they haven't needed a lot of saves. So if they were to trade Vasquez, I, at least as a fan, would have some sort of shred that they could find the next
You know what
closer.
else they have a way of doing? They'll rattle off like 11 of 13, and they'll trick people into thinking that they're actually somewhat of a decent team.
And they'll confuse themselves like they did last year.
Which is what is always hilarious to me when Neil Huntington comes up with all of these ways of measuring how they're really not that bad. Like the latest one was, well, if you take those 7 or 8 games out of the equation, our run differential is only -5. But never
it's like the Steelers. They're just a few plays away, Paul.
Or last year or 2 years ago when it was, we're 2 wins per month away from being, in contention. But never do we hear, like last year, what was it, an 11-game winning streak?
Yeah.
Take that 11-game winning streak, that miracle 11-game winning streak out of the equation, and you know what? We weren't very good. You never hear that. You never hear
the Steelers were only a few missed field goals away from Boswell from missing the playoffs 2 years ago.
All right, before we get to the smooth move, they want to trade Corey Dickerson. They probably want to trade Melky Cabrera. But who should they trade? Should they try to trade Starling Marte or Gregory Polanco or someone like that?
I mean, I want them to. I don't really trust Neil Huntington with these trades. When he was in a position to get something back for Garrett Cole, he didn't. And the same thing could have been said early in his tenure about Jason Bay. So it's the right thing to do, Richie. I just don't know if they have the right man in charge of pulling the strings.
If you're going to make trades and it doesn't involve Starling Marte and Vasquez, meaning guys that are actually going to bring value back, then I really don't care what they do.
If they've got a guy like Reynolds ready to go, if they've got a guy like, in a better organization, Bell, a player that can actually hit, a player that can actually pitch and be in your rotation next year, then yeah, I'd do it.
All right, now let's go around the horn for this week's Smooth Move, brought to you by Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, and quartz countertops, Armina Stone. We'll start with Pony.
Well, I'm really excited for Hard Knocks, guys. I'm just thinking through some of the scenarios we'll get. Maybe a Mark Davis trip to the barbershop. We can see the bowl cut in person. Maybe Richie Cognito will go to another funeral and get into a fist fight with mourners again. And, of course, Antonio Brown and Vontaze Burfict. So, after Game of Thrones, Richie, I was thinking about canceling my HBO subscription. I think I'm going to stick around for a few more months.
Well, I'm going to go with Team Thailand, who, they're sort of like, Savannah State of men's basketball or Arkansas State of football, the patsy that gets blown out. I've got to give them a lot of credit because today, against Sweden, who's a pretty good team, they managed to score a goal. They lost 5-1, but they did score a goal. So I'll go with Thailand.
All right, I guess I was going to go with the HBO route as well. In a post-Game of Thrones world, they need all the help they can get. But I guess I'll go with the Lakers then for trading Lonzo Ball. And apparently it was LeBron that called him. It's so transparent. Where else does another player call a player to tell him that he's traded? It's just beautiful over there.
All right, those are Smooth Moves of the Week, brought to you by Armina Stone, who features Pittsburgh's largest indoor stone gallery of granite and marble countertops imported from all over the world to give you the smoothest countertops in the area. Score touchdown with new granite countertops from Armina Stone. Back to talk about the Steelers coming up next.